What's up, guys? I'm Taylor with TK Disc Golf, and today we are back for another 3-disc challenge battle round with Tyler and I. This time, this is the releases from September of 2019 with the Eclipse Stabilizer and Pilot from Streamline and the Electron Matrix from MVP. These are the very first Eclipse discs from Streamline, and man, they feel great in the hand, and they've got actually color glow options, so more than just your typical white glow. They all glow green, but they've got some cool color options. The Pilot has a flight numbers 3 speed, 5 glide, 0 turn, 1 fade, as you saw there. Stabilizer is a 3 speed, 3.5 glide, 0 turn, and 3 fade, so I threw that on a flex to keep it straight and get out there. And then the Matrix is 5 speed, 4 glide, -1 turn and 1.5 fade. So pretty good hyzer flipping machine, and with it being baseline, you'll be able to beat those things up and bag many of them in different stages of wear to get different flights. So the coin flip to start off the round, I called heads, and it is tails. So Tyler will be first on the box for hole number 1, which is 240 feet straight ahead. There's a little bit of like a ramp there, kind of. So it's like a hillside, basically playing to that. It'll scoot up. The ground's super dry right now. I mean, you can see the dust flying, and very easy to treat it like a skateboard ramp and just get it to scoot up instead of overshooting into the rough. I'm going Electron Matrix as well, and I left mine a little wide, but luckily was able to sneak through, so I will have a look for a putt, so I'm not too worried. Tyler's got himself about 20 feet. And I will say that we did not do a warm-up or anything, and Tyler had actually never thrown any of these discs. I threw them maybe once or twice in my backyard one evening towards dusk. I mean, it was getting pretty dark, so I didn't have too much time to get used to them. So both of us were pretty much newbies with these. I mean, I've bagged a Matrix, I bag a Pilot in a different plastic. Tyler putts with Pilots, and he bags a Neutron Stabilizer, but overall, with these actual molds in these particular plastics, we didn't have too much experience. But hole 2, 390 foot straight ahead, Tyler threw that one way low. He probably could have gotten to like mid circle 2, close to circle 1's edge if he would have left it higher. And me, I got tangled up, so I've got myself about a 90 foot approach shot. There's several holes here at Gulley that are just way too long for the 3 discs that we had. I mean, it's 2 putters and a pretty fast and glidey mid-range. So you can get some good distance out of the Matrix, but there's plenty of holes here that require a fairway driver, or at least a distance driver, to feel comfortable at getting your look at a 2. So getting a 3 on this hole isn't the end of the world, and that's about the best score I had envisioned in my mind. So we're going to be tapping out a couple pars to keep us both at 1 under for the round, so it's not too bad of a start. Yeah, Tyler was putting with the Electron Matrix. I putt with Electron Ions. He putts with soft Electron Pilots. So the Electron Matrix just feels really good in the hand, super grippy. And I tend to have trouble putting with premium plastics for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a mental thing or just my preference on what I like in my hand. But hole 3 is 300 feet downhill. Only trouble really is to throw into the woods, which they've even cleared up some of the woods near the basket. And my Electron Matrix, like I said, I've only thrown it a handful of times, and I wasn't expecting how much turn to get into the headwind. So I left it high and plenty of room, and I was like, well, worst case, if it stalls out and fades out, I'd rather be out in the open than have turned it over too much and into the rough. Tyler gets him, hits the pin, but just way low. I think, yeah, he was putting with the Electron Matrix again. Trying to figure out which one he prefers for the putting. Whether he's more comfortable with the grip or just wants the slower fight of a putter. But for the most part, I am putting with the Pilot for the round, and I like it. I mean, it's very straight out of the hand. It's just, I have to get used to that premium plastic. I think it's more mental. It's nothing against the putter. It's a great putter. It's just, I got to get used to that premium plastic. But a couple more pars for us on hole 3, moving into hole 4. Yeah, you can see that they actually cleaned that up a lot. I haven't been to this course in like a couple months, and I was really surprised. They've done a lot of work here, and it looks really, they've cleaned it up quite a bit on several of these holes that were getting a little overgrown. Hole 4, though, 190 feet. Tyler threw a stabilizer on a nice forehand line. It just left it about 20 feet short of the basket, and it scoots its way into the woods. Over there is a little path that you can actually get out, so he should be pretty safe. I'm going with the Electron Matrix. I bag a Proton Matrix, and it's a really fun, super straight forehand disc for me. So I have no problem forehanding this mid, but I leaked that one a little left. I should put a little bit more hyzer on it, or just throwing it way more straight at the basket. I'm actually putting with the stabilizer here because I'm trying to hyzer it around this tree, and the stabilizer is the most overstable disc of the three. And I got it perfectly. I just threw it nice and baby soft, knowing that it would just fade into the... Yeah, pretty much that's exactly what I was doing, just trying to get it to fade. Yeah, and this disc, I forgot about this. It was a destroyer sitting on top of the basket that I guess a lawnmower or someone just hit a tree. I don't know what, but that destroyer was destroyed. Pun intended. Pretty funny. Yeah, like I said, Tyler was able to get to this path perfectly, leaving him a no problem putt to get his birdie as well. So Tyler and I say stay tied up, 2 under through 4. Moving on to hole number 5, it's 320 feet. Tyler's pulling out a stabilizer, and it's a dogleg left. That looks pretty much perfect, actually. It's got a low ceiling once you start to get to that dogleg left portion. And I'm going to be trying to go with the Electron Matrix, which is a good choice. I typically go with the Proton Matrix, but that one just went too straight and hit that wide tree and dropped me straight down. I'll be in the opening. I have to go with the touch flex forehand with the stabilizer, and it turned out perfectly. I've practiced that shot all the time on this hole just because I typically end up in that same spot. Have yet to get a 2 on this hole. It's just such a touchy shot and hard to get all the way down that corridor once you hit the gap. Tyler had a really good skip, I think, because of the ground being so dry, but he left his putt high. I think it has something to do with trying to get used to these different putters. Although he does putt with soft Electron pilots, these premium plastic versions are much more stable. And not only the difference in feel and hand due to premium versus baseline plastic, but their flights are much different. So a pair of pars for both of us on hole 5. Hole 6, though. Shortest hole on the course, 140 feet. Tyler throws the stabilizer on the forehand, and it just goes dead straight and to the edge of the woods. He'll have a putt, but he's going to be a little bit outside the circle. I've got a stabilizer in hand as well, trying to correct on his mistake. I do, but then it leaks too straight. I was trying to get that a lot higher in the air and get it to kind of stall out to get around the corner and not overshoot this hole. That's how I typically play it with a pyro. Stabilizer can do it, but I left it a little too low and put too much juice on it, and it went too straight, leaving me in the creek. Yeah, there we go. I've got a little bit of branches to deal with. I have to kind of go for a spin putt out of my chest to try and avoid hitting any branches. And it's just, I'm not a spin putter. I don't putt out of my chest like that. I typically get low and then come up, kind of like a push putt type deal. But I drew metal, but it wasn't enough to get it to stick. So Tyler and I are both settling for our pars. But I do really enjoy these 3 discs. They're a good combo. Good stability from the 2 putters, and then the Matrix has plenty of distance potential. Tyler's going pilot here on hole 7, and almost trying to get that skip ace, but gets tangled up by that Christmas tree there and drops him straight down. So he'll have a look. And I threw that on too much hyzer. I meant to throw that on a flat line. That was a pilot. I did leak out, so I got very fortunate to potentially try to save my birdie look. But I've got a really low ceiling just outside the circle, so I'm going to try to lunge at it, and I tangled some branches on that low side. Didn't really have much of a choice. Tyler's got a clean look, though. Probably 25 feet or so, but not too bad, and he drills the birdie. Getting him 1 stroke ahead of me. I'm going to be tapping in a par, but you got to get those birdies when they come, especially with discs you're unfamiliar with, and Tyler's got the advantage so far. But hole 8, 255 feet, straight ahead, and then veers off to the left downhill. So you're wanting to throw something over stable. Tyler's going the stabilizer, and it has a really, really good angle. We will see where that wound up, but that looked pretty good off the tee. I'm also going to be going stabilizer, but I don't have the brute force power like Tyler does, so I am trying to flex this just a little bit. That'll get rid of some of that hardcore fade like Tyler was getting, so mine will just end up pretty straight. But I'll have a look. We still don't see Tyler's yet. He might have gone in the rough, gone too straight. But I have a look, probably about 35 feet. And, almost at it. So close. Hit cage. Trying to get used to those new putters. It was a downhill putt, so I was really not trying to gun it at the basket just because I didn't want to have a crazy comebacker. So I was really just trying to throw a lofty one and see what I can get. And yeah, Tyler did go into the woods. So we'll see if he can pitch out. He looks like he has a gap though. Except for that iron branch that he did not see. That was ridiculous. He didn't have much of a chance with that tiny little branch to knock him straight down. So both pars for us.
It's up to you. I don't care.
On hole 9 though, 275. Goal number 1, get out of the woods. And then goal number 2, get near the basket. And that's exactly what Tyler's doing. You can see it. It lands himself about pin high and 15 to the right of the basket. He'll have no problem trying to capitalize for birdie there. And I left mine a little low. I'll get to the base of the hill, but I'm going to have some work to do to still try to save my birdie. Going with the Pilot, as you can see, I was right at the base of the hill. And just going to try to give it a run. And I got it, man. Perfect. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut. And that was me today. I'm trying to get these unfamiliar putters working for me. I'm used to something much straighter and beat to perfection to get a crazy amount of glide. Those Electron irons are so good when they're beat to heck. And these premium plastic Pilots are still pretty stable out of the hand, especially when they're brand new. But hole 10, 245, Tyler goes long. He went stabilizer, absolutely mashed that one past the basket. And there is a pretty good drop off behind the pin, so you do not want to go long. And I'm trying to correct his mistake by going Pilot and leaving it plenty wide, but I actually somehow mashed this thing about 30 feet past the pin. I have no idea how I did that. I've never done that with a Envy or a Pilot. Anytime I play this hole, I always go with those discs. I'm always fading right at like pin high or something like that, but somehow I just mashed that one. And I have kind of a weird Anheuser look to try to get my birdie. And I hit a bush. That didn't help. So I'm going to be settling for par, unfortunately. This is just one of those holes you really, really want to get. It doesn't matter if you're unfamiliar with the discs or not. You should be able to capitalize a birdie on this hole most of the time. And unfortunately, both Tyler and I are going to not have any looks. And Tyler's going the Naruto run up the hill, and he actually slips. Epic fail, Tyler. Epic fail. Pars for both of us. Hole 11, though. This one's going to be some pretty fun drives with the Electron Matrixes. 340-foot downhill, and Tyler just crushed that Matrix. Like, holy crap. He is begging for it to get down. He knows it's going long. And he threw that thing every bit of 360 feet, probably, into the woods. He's going to have some work to do to try to save his par and throw back into the fairway. I'm going Electron Matrix as well. And I left that one a little lower than I was hoping. A little bit more height, that thing would have glided down there. We threw a couple extra bonus holes after the round just to try to screw around and see what we could do. And I did get the Matrix into the circle, probably about 20 feet short when we were just screwing around after the round. But that one, I just left it too high. That was like a 35-foot downhill putt. Didn't commit to it, didn't leave it low enough, and just airballed it. And Tyler throws the Scooby out and makes the par putt. So luckily he didn't go too far in the woods. That could have been extreme trouble for him trying to save himself. Oh my gosh, Taylor. First 4 of the round goes to myself for missing essentially a 15-foot putt. Story of my life. Luckily I've had some birdies to stack up, but I don't want to give it away on essentially 2.5 putting a hole. I mean, I know that first putt was a long one, but I essentially 3-putt the hole. That's embarrassing. Hole 12, though, 220 feet. Pretty simple. Just a hyzer spike or just throw it flat and let it fade in. Tyler throws the hyzer spike well, but it landed pretty much right at the pin. But if you do that, you're skipping down the hill and going to have a long comebacker. That green plays very fast. I landed it perfectly, threw it way right, and was able to slide up to the pin very nicely. Like I said, Tyler left it right at the pin, and then it slid straight down the hill because it's so dry right now, and give himself a very tricky look to try to get his birdie. But we'll have no problem tapping in the 3. There you go. And honestly, from where Tyler was at, I mean, a 3's not too... What was up with the weird alley-oop? That was kind of funny. And as you can see, yeah, mine got pretty close, and I should have no problem capitalizing for the birdie. Perfect. I'll take that every time. I typically throw either my Envy or a Plasma Pilot on this hole anyway, so the Eclipse Pilot wasn't too much different. So that gives me the box for the first time for the entire day for hole 13. 390 foot up over top the trees. Typically, you're going to be pulling out a driver on this hole. It is really long and requires a lot of power to get there. So really, anything up and over top the trees, you're going to be fine. So I'm really happy with how mine turned out. It held it for a while and will leave me about, let's say, 100 feet from the pin, maybe 90 feet from the pin. And Tyler, what are you doing? I think he meant to throw that on an Anheuser Flex and just forgot what disc he was throwing. He threw that, maybe he thought it was going to hyzer flip and turn or something, but that is not the case when you're throwing it that high. That's more like it. Pulls out a pilot, trying to get it to flex. Probably could have gone with a stabilizer to get it, throwing it that high on that hard of an ante. Stabilizer would have faded out towards the pin, but he puts himself at probably 35 feet, almost 40 feet, to try to save his 3. And I almost threw that one in. That was my second one of those today that was like within a foot of the basket, so I'm pretty happy with that. Especially my shot off the tee. I mean, it was in the wide open, just a little pitch up to save my 3. And ooh, talking about saving 3s, Tyler cans that one. Yeah, I say I hate him. Cans that one from probably 35, 40 feet from that ditch line. If you played this course, you know that is a pretty long putt. So good for him. Good par save.
Yes.
But with 2 pars on the last hole, I still have the box. Hole 14, 345 feet. Both of us going to be going for the Matrix, no doubt. And I didn't get behind that one as much as I wanted. I will make it around the tree, but I'll still leave myself well outside circle 2. I mean, I'll probably have a 55, 60-foot putt to try to get my birdie. Well short of the basket, that's for sure. But Tyler, no slouch on distance. Throws that one. He wanted to hang that over the road a little bit longer, I think. He'll be pin high, but he's going to be about 25 left of the basket, maybe. As you can see, I'm way short, so this will be a run. But even with my main regular putter, the Electron Ions, this was still well in my wheelhouse. If I were to make like 1 or 2 out of 10 of those, I'd be shocked and super happy. But easy par for me. Tyler has himself a look. Like I said, pin high, just about 25 feet wide, and leaves that one a little low. He likes to putt a little lower, especially with his Electron. So you can make the tomahawk putt, but you miss your actual putt. Whatever, Tyler. Come on. But a pair of pars, not that big a deal. That's a longer hole. Like I was saying earlier in the video, there's plenty of holes here that are pretty long that are just out of the range
2 for 5
normally of a putter in mid-range. So you just got to get the birdies on the holes that you know you need to get, and then take your 3s on the holes that require a 3. Speaking of holes that require a 3, this one, I mean, if either of us can get a 3 with just 2 putters and a mid, I'd be pretty impressed. I hit the gap. I will be a little pinched off, I think. You'll be able to see how this hole plays in a second once you see your second shot. But Tyler completely eliminates the gap and just throws the giant hyzer spike over the woods. I mean, if you got the power, I guess why not? I mean, he does the same thing with an Octane, and he'll sit there and put himself 50, 60 feet farther down the fairway. But he's going another hyzer spike with a stabilizer this time, and it's just disgusting to see how high he can throw these things. You can actually see the disc. It went about 25 long in the basket, but he will have a pretty wide open putt. And this is what I meant by pinched off. There's a left route and a right route. Tyler took the right route. I'm forced to take the left route, and my cut roller went too straight. I threw my other 2 discs just to see if I could pull it off. I did pull it off with a pilot. I threw it on like a 45-degree angle, and it just cut rolled all the way to the basket. And it was perfect, but it wasn't my first shot, so it didn't count. So I got nothing but a pitch out to take another bogey. Put myself back down to 2 under. It's not too bad, especially with discs I'm not used to throwing, but I want to be better off than that. Usually I like to be around where Tyler's at going into these final 2 wooded holes that are pretty reachable. Oh, another low putt from Tyler. That's kind of strange. I thought he would have had that. That was well within his wheelhouse. But both bogeys. I mean, a 4 is not the end of the world on this hole, though. If you're playing with just about anybody, if you're getting at least a 3 or 4 on this hole, it's not the end of the world. This hole kind of plays like a par 3.5. I would say the average is pretty close to 4. But with 2 bogeys, we're both going to hole 16, and I still have the box. I don't know what I did on that. I'm still trying to think of if I didn't give it enough power or what, but I'll have myself like a circle 2 look, but I meant to put a lot straighter and at least 24 feet or 20 more feet of distance to get myself inside the circle. And Tyler leaves it low, but he's got the power to slide it all the way up to the basket. He'll be fine for a look for birdie. And mine actually snuck down a lot closer than I thought it would, so I'm not complaining whatsoever, but we'll see if we can pull this off. And that's an air ball, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what I was thinking. By the end of this round, Tyler and I were kind of moving slow, taking our time, messing around. We were getting a little tired. Tyler does pull off the birdie, but puts himself at 4 under, 2 strokes ahead of me. It'll take a miracle for me to catch up to him at this point. He'll have to make an error, and I'll have to birdie the next hole to even force a playoff. This one, hole 17, 250 foot straight ahead is reachable for birdie, but the hole after that is... Tyler, you can't throw worm burners like that. Come on. Throws it straight in the dirt. But I'm trying to ace run this because I know if I have any chance to catch up to Tyler, I got to throw an ace run. And it was close. That was a bullseye hit, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, I did my job. Tyler's trying to throw that in for 2. I mean, he had a 55-foot Anheuser or 60-foot, something like that. I don't know. But goes a little along the basket. He'll have a little bit of comebacker. Not too bad, but he's able to save par. Not the end of the world. So he maintains his 4 under par going into the last hole. And I will have an easy tap in for my birdie to get myself back to 3 under going into the final hole, which is a doozy. It's one of the holes that a putter in the mid's not going to get you a 2, but you can easily take your 3, and that's about the best score you can hope for. But I'm going Electron Matrix, trying to throw the flex line around the big Christmas tree, and I do just that. That's about the most perfect shot I can get with my Matrix, and Tyler's going to try to do the same thing with a Stabilizer. I'm going to try to throw that flex line and see if he can get around that tree. That'd be pretty impressive if he can. And he did not commit to that turnover. Threw it almost flat. Yeah, he stayed out of the woods. I mean, he'll be able to capitalize this 3. Not the end of the world. And I'm going to have myself about a 60-foot look or so. Maybe a little bit more than 60 feet. But with those Eclipse pilots, they've got some late fade on them. And they need to be beaten a little bit more to get that long-term glide, especially for putting. I'm so used to my super glidey Electron irons that I've beat to perfection. I know exactly what they're going to do. So really, I think a lot of my putting woes today were from trying to learn a new putter and get used to the differences, which these are a lot more stable than my really beat-up irons. But overall, I think the scores weren't too bad. Tyler finishing at -4, which is a 50, so that's pretty respectable. He likes to be around like 47, 46 range, something like that with his regular bag. So, I mean, not the end of the world. And then I finished with a -351, so not too bad there either. I say if I'm anywhere around 50 or below 50, that's a pretty reasonable round for myself. I had a lot of birdies, just a couple bogeys that screwed me up, and then Tyler had the 1 bogey on 15. But I want to thank you guys for watching our 3-disc round video. If you want to see more of the tester videos done this way, where we just review them all in one chunk, please drop a comment, smash the like button, and let us know what you think. But again, thank you for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our upcoming videos.